Testing, testing. All right, breakthrough, graph mappers. Breakthrough. Perfect example of why you continue with this. Gaining control and precision. Let's jump in. Sphere, points on sphere, lofted, series of points, all numbered, all manageable, all of them. There they are. They come out as a list of lists. You can simplify this list if you so choose. You're never working within these first two 0, 0 paths, but you can definitely scan down and see that you're actually going into the A and B plus the indices. But I'm going to use my Pathmapper and I'm going to introduce the item list, but I am going to swap it for D. So I'm not just doing the paths A, B, C, D, and then putting indices at the end. I've made the Pathmapper switch. In doing so, I've then masks, and I'm able to write, as long as I leave the first two paths at 0, 0, I can play with the second path and the first path, or whatever order you call these, 1, 2, 3, 4, A, B, C, D. We can play with C and D, and the indices will fall into this area. So I have A, B, C, D is a list, controlled, start, step, stop. It's just incredible. Like, so I'm actually playing with A, B, and C is a start, step, count, range, and D is the same, and then indices is here. But you have to imagine that the I was swapped for the D. Thank you, Ella. Topaz is the name of your doll. Anyway, that data goes in here, and it's chosen positive or negative of what you want to call out the empty list and the nulls. You take it through and you pipe it, and you are given a gorgeous piece of sculpture rotated. And you have control. Take it through. You can choose these points that are selected, these points. You can call out a list. You can decide how much you want to grab, whatever you want to do. The information is there. It's totally understandable. The more you organize this, the more you'll be able to bring into building design. And let's play with it. Let's be happy with our Pathmapper swapping the I indices with D. And let's take this series and be very playful. I haven't done anything down here yet, but I am simply masking in this pattern. You can see a nice subtle shift. I can actually grab at this point the curves tree information from here and only grab that which is positive in that selection of the split tree. I can take the negative attributes if I want, but the relation between these things is just elegantly beautiful. And I am totally simplifying my mind. So here is a B, C is an odd, not choosing 0, 2 all the way up to the end, but a 1 to 3 to 5 to 7 until it runs out. And then in the D, which is actually the I indices, which is allowing for this interesting shift and twist and torque. I can take the odd numbers. You'll notice it subtly changes. I can also go in and take just the positive attributes of the split tree. This completely makes sense. Think of your jewelry patterns. Think of what I'm doing. You don't have to be taking into a variable pipe, let alone putting through a graph mapper in this way. But the real play comes with bringing the Pathmapper into the masks that can be used in the split tree. You need to go into this. The sense of number, like looking at this and knowing form and controlling it. This is coming from a simple divided sphere. Like, how much simpler can we get? Divided sphere, points on the sphere, and there's our item, influenced by it, and having control over it. There is no plugin that will do these details of programming this yourself. Play with it. Grab the form there, swap out that which is positive for the negative, see which shapes are being decided. They're all fairly similar because I'm using the same step of 2. But let's go in and say, okay, in this one where they're disconnected at the bottom, but a beautiful pattern at the bottom of thinking of joining. If you don't believe me, just double click and zoom extends all. What gorgeous patterns. And I know they're algorithms. You can, in the end, call out and take out items out of here, depending on the item list, the amount of objects that are in it. And how many items in your list. There's 69 to choose from here. So you can definitely choose a different series of calling out data and deciding what you want and what you don't want. That's kind of a tail end of playing with it. But whereas I used to think the list index and the call index were the only way of manipulating, I'm into the masks. I'm into writing scripts. Let's go in here and let's step it up. Let's take the simple form. Let's take the positive curves coming out of it, put it into our tree data. We got a wonderful alternating pattern to make different metals. If we wanted one person to make it in silver, one to make it in gold. I tied to jewelry. This is outstanding. I'm at 5 minutes and I'm just ranting. I haven't even played with the curves. If I wanted to jazz this up, do another Pathmapper and jump in there and grab something like a, I wouldn't even know. Gaussian would be nuts, but a sine summation. I'm not sure what's going to happen because my numbers are a little off. They may really shrink, especially if I plug them into the wrong thing. Radii. Can I play with that subtle shift of data? Pulling this up into extremes, swapping it out, playing with my geometries. I mean, I've got control. And that's just playing with a nice little Pathmapper, Grasshopper afterwards. But staying with what I have, let's go in, just be a little playful. Let's take this through a list count, maybe this one. And since we have so many options to put it in there, let's cut this one short. Now let's take it up by 4 count. Let's take this one up by 3 count. Yeah, see the shift? See what it's decided to grab and not grab because of that data? Like, you're being very controlled. You've got to get in here and realize that this will do what you program it to do. And you can find some incredible shapes. Let me jump back into here and take this up by count of 3. 0, skipping 1, 2, and then going to 3. Obviously, it's staggering it up. We've got different steps, other control. The numbers... It doesn't do anything that's not programmed. I'm not worried about artificial intelligence. I'm worried about my intelligence being able to comprehend what's already I'm capable of doing. Let's take the indice count up by 4. And there you go. You've kind of killed its curve because it just lined up there. Take the indice count up by 8. I like double things to see the difference. Disappeared. Obviously, I lost my count. Let's take it down to an odd number of 3. It's back to where it was. And let's begin the count at something like 2, and then we'll be skipping the 0 and 1. But you have control over this. Let's go back to this count, bring it down to something reasonable at 2. This one back down to 3. And you're starting to realize, what am I making? How am I laying hold of this data? How am I building these arches? I am gaining control. I totally feel like there's a breakthrough in getting into here. The videos, and I've just been playful. I've continued to go through them, seeing what they can do. I'm going to amplify this one up. Well, is it a 5 count? Not sure if I can influence that by pulling this slider over here. Maybe making this one fatter in that way. There we go. Kind of bubbling that one out. I'm not sure if this one will have a real play in the inside and out. But graph, there's so many incredible graph types you can play with. Gaussian's going to not come through for me. I figured. I always have trouble with that one. A parabola is always a decent one to start with, and you just don't want to take your count down too small. So you want to pull that one up, and obviously the wider it gets, the thinner it gets in your visualization. Anyhow, not so exciting there, but yeah, real ballooning up. Take that down to a smaller number, and pull that one out to shrink it. There we go. Anyhow, it's a reason to play, and then do all your Boolean unions when you get out of it. But think of how you're building your geometries. How are you actually piping these together? What are you doing? You're programming. You're programming in Grasshopper, ending up with some incredible patterns. Keep in mind this is based on an incredibly simple script of a sphere to its points moved in a direction. And keep in mind what you can play with. Like I said, you could take this and simplify it. And you'd be down to those data, A, B, and then you'd have to redo all of these. You'd have to go into null data. And you'll notice if I do the simplification, I'll have to go back into null. It'll reduce it to this count, so all these formulas won't count with those 0 zeros. So I'm okay not simplifying, just dealing with the zeros. Get into this. Be playful. Don't worry what doesn't work. You can filter it through a clean tree. And here's where I am. Pathmappers, split trees, masks, and clean trees. And then back into everything I've learned to do at a more intermediate and basic level. Thanks for watching. I'm really excited about what's happening here. I'm well over 100 scripts. I can't wait to see where I'm at when I get over 200. Take care.